There's a door in the basement of the Meridian Building that doesn't appear on any blueprint. I checked every set of plans filed with the county, 1964, 1978, 1993. No door, but I opened it and I walked through. And what I found on the other side is still waiting for me to come back. I've been a building inspector for 17 years. I know structures, what they can hold, where they fail, how they die. Because buildings do die, slowly, from the inside out, plumbing first, then electrical, then the bones, concrete spalling, rebar rusting, joints separating like arthritic fingers letting go. I can read a building the way a doctor reads a patient. The cracks tell me about the soil, the water stains tell me about the drainage, the smell tells me about the rot. It is a practical science. Everything has a specification, everything has a reason. The Meridian Building was a 7-story office block, built in 1964, condemned in 2019. 15 years of water damage, 2 electrical fires, a partial collapse in the basement. The city ordered a final assessment before demolition. Routine, I arrived at 8 on a Tuesday morning. The building had been empty 4 years. I started at the top and worked down. 7 floors of gutted offices, checking columns, measuring cracks. By the ground floor, I had 47 pages of notes. The building was done. Demolition was the right call. The basement was last. The stairwell was dark. Emergency lighting dead for years. And I could smell it before I reached the bottom. Damp concrete, mildew. That metallic tang of corroded pipe. I clicked on my flashlight and started the assessment. Standard layout, parking bays, utility corridors, mechanical rooms. 2 inches of standing water along the north wall. I waded in. I was working along the south corridor, documenting cracks, checking moisture readings. When I reached the end of the utility corridor, according to the blueprints, it should terminate at a concrete wall, 40 feet from the stairwell, dead end. But my flashlight beam didn't hit concrete. It kept going, into darkness that extended beyond where the wall should have been. I stood there. The blueprints are wrong, I told myself. It happens. Renovations get done. Nobody updates the plans. I've seen it 100 times. So I kept walking. The corridor continued. 30 feet, 40. Then the character of the space began to change. The concrete floor gave way to carpet. Carpet, old, damp commercial grade, in a sickly yellow-brown. It squelched under my boots. A wet, soft compression that was the first thing that felt wrong. The walls changed. Bare concrete covered in wallpaper, pale yellow, faintly patterned, peeling at the seams, but mostly intact, as if someone had been maintaining it. And the lights, industrial fixtures, replaced by fluorescent panels, recessed in the suspended ceiling, white tiles in a metal grid. Every panel lit, every panel buzzing. That sound. In an occupied building, you never hear it. Human noise covers it. Air conditioning covers it. But in an empty room with nothing but damp carpet and yellow wallpaper and dead air, you hear it. 60 hertz, the frequency of alternating current. A drone that sits right behind your eyes and does not stop. I should have turned back. Every instinct I'd built in 17 years was telling me to turn around. This space wasn't on the plans. This space shouldn't exist, but I'm an inspector, and the job is to document. The corridor opened into a room, 20 by 30 feet, roughly. Same yellow walls, same buzzing lights, same damp carpet. 3 doorways leading to more rooms beyond. I chose the left doorway. Another room, same dimensions, same yellow, same buzz. 2 more doorways. Another doorway. A doorway, I counted, 7 rooms, 12. 20. Each one, a slight variation, a doorway, a missing ceiling tile, but fundamentally exactly the same. Yellow walls, fluorescent buzz, damp carpet, over and over. At the 23rd room, I stopped. I took my marking pen and drew a thick black X on the wall beside the doorway. Then I turned around to go back. The doorway I'd come through was gone. Unbroken wallpaper, no seam, no edge, no trace of an opening. I pressed my hand against it. Dry plaster, warm. I told myself I'd gotten turned around. The rooms all looked the same, so I picked another opening and walked, and another, and another. 47 rooms, not a single exit, no windows, no stairs. Just rooms. Then I found my mark. The X I'd drawn was on a wall I hadn't marked. But it was wrong. It was in red. I don't carry a red pen, and it was on the wrong wall, not beside a doorway, but in the center of a solid panel, as if the doorway had been absorbed. And the scale was off, twice the size of my original. Same shape, same strokes. Wrong scale, that is when I understood. The space was changing when I wasn't looking, not shifting, changing, rearranging itself, like something alive. Slowly digesting, I sat on the damp carpet with my back against the wall. I couldn't trust and forced myself to breathe. In, out. I'm a building inspector. Every room connects to another room. Every level has a logic. If the layout is changing, there has to be a pattern. I stood up and started testing the walls. Systematically, methodically. Most were solid. Near the ceiling felt different, not hollow, thin, like something stretched over a frame that was only pretending to be a wall. I pushed harder. The surface gave like a drum skin, and warm air touched the back of my hand. Air from somewhere else. That is when the light started to flicker. One panel first, stuttering, dimming, buzzing louder. Then the next, then the next. A wave of dying light, rolling across the ceiling. The buzzing dropped, 60 hertz to 50, 40, 30. A descending tone like a generator running out of fuel. One by one, the panels went dark, and the room began to go somewhere else. The carpet disappeared first. One moment I was standing on it, the next my boots hit cold, rough concrete. The wallpaper receded, the walls swallowing it inward. Underneath, cinder block, painted institutional green, streaked with efflorescence. The suspended ceiling dissolved into exposed ductwork and industrial piping. Bulb fixtures in wire cages, half of them dead. The temperature dropped like walking into a meat locker. The air tasted metallic, iron, copper, machine oil. I was somewhere else, still underground, still enclosed. But the office, space mimicry, was gone. This was raw infrastructure, the guts of a building that didn't exist. Pipes everywhere. Bundled runs strapped to the ceiling with metal hangers. Copper supply lines, PVC drains, black iron gas. But there were pipes I didn't recognize. Something gray and dull, no markings, no standard diameter, running in directions that followed no plumbing logic. Some went straight down into the concrete floor, vanishing as if they fed something below. I followed one of the gray pipes along the wall until I came to a junction. A small, cleared area where someone had been. Supplies scattered on the concrete. A heavy-duty flashlight. I tested it. It worked. A water bottle, half full. Dead, screen cracked. And a notebook, spiral, bound, water damaged. Handwriting that started neat and deteriorated into a jagged scroll, most of it illegible. Ink run, pages torn. But fragments, day 4. Found others, but they won't talk. They just sit, they just listen. I marked the spot and closed my eyes for 1 minute. When I opened them, the mark was 3 feet to the left. Level 0 is safe, but it won't let you stay. It pushes you down. Level 1 is where you start to hear them. The last entry. 3 words, underlined so hard the pen tore through the paper. Don't look up. I looked up. A tangle of pipes and ductwork lost in shadow. And for a moment, just a moment, something moved. Not a shadow, not a pipe shifting, an absence that had weight. I looked away immediately. I picked up the flashlight. I picked up the water. I left the notebook, and I kept walking. The concrete corridors stretched on, doorways at irregular intervals, some leading to more corridors, some to empty rooms with machinery I couldn't identify. That is when I heard the footsteps, not mine. Mine had a specific rhythm, heavy boots, the slight drag of my left heel. These were lighter, faster, coming from behind me, 2 corridors back, maybe 3. I walked faster, the footsteps walked faster. I slowed, they slowed. I stopped, silence. Then, a half second later, they stopped too, that half second. An echo stops when you stop, immediately. These stopped after me, as if whatever was making them needed a moment to realize it. As if it was reacting, I called out, "Is someone there?" No answer. And then, when I started walking again, more footsteps, not just behind me, ahead of me, to my left, above me, on the ceiling, or whatever lay above it. Multiple sources, multiple rhythms, all converging. I found the stairwell, metal stairs leading down. Every part of me screamed to go up, to find outside. But the footsteps were closing from every direction except down. So I went down. The stairs spiraled, 3 flights, 4, 5, deeper than any building should go. The air changed, warmer, wetter, the walls slick with condensation. At the bottom, the corridor narrowed, then narrowed again. Then it became a tunnel, 4 feet wide, 5 feet high, steam pipes along the ceiling, radiating heat so intense I felt it on my scalp. Walls lined with cracked ceramic tile, stained with mineral deposits. Metal grating over warm standing water that sloshed under my weight. The tunnel kept shrinking. 4 feet became 3, 5 feet high became 4.5. I was hunching, shoulders brushing both walls, steam pipes inches from my head, hissing. I don't scare easily. 17 years in condemned buildings, collapsed structures, flood zones. But the walls were pressing in, not metaphorically, literally, tighter on my shoulders than 30 seconds ago. The tunnel was shrinking. I moved faster, hunched, shuffling. The pipes groaned with thermal expansion. I know that sound, but here it sounded like the tunnel was breathing. Then it opened, suddenly, the way a throat opens into a stomach. A circular chamber, 30 feet across, dome ceiling, steam curling along the upper curves, and doors. All around the perimeter, heavy fire doors with round handles, set into the tile at regular intervals. 14 doors, evenly spaced, all identical. First one, locked. Second, locked. Handles fused. The 8th door opened, smoothly, on oiled hinges. I stepped through, and I was standing in my childhood bedroom, the house on Maple Street, twin bed against the far wall, blue comforter, the one my mother bought me for my 8th birthday. Desk under the window with the crooked leg I propped up with cardboard. Bookshelf with my baseball glove on top. Closet door ajar, the way I always left it. Everything was there, and everything was wrong. The ceiling was too low, 7 feet instead of 8. The room was too long, stretched along one axis. The window was there, but the light was wrong, too white, too flat, like a photographer's backdrop instead of a sky. I touched the comforter, right weight, right smell. Laundry detergent, my mother's brand. But the baseball glove was wrong, too smooth, too new. No oil stains, no dirt from years of use, like someone had made a perfect copy from a photograph, but had never lived in it. The closet clothes smelled wrong, under detergent, something chemical and sweet, like formaldehyde, like the room had been preserved. I backed out, my hands were shaking. The yellow rooms had frightened me, the footsteps had frightened me. But this was worse, this was personal. The backrooms were reading me, pulling memories from my head and building them back in plaster and carpet. But they didn't understand what the memories meant. They could copy the shape, but not the substance. And the clinical wrongness of that was more terrifying than any creature. Back in the chamber, the bedroom door was gone. One new opening remained, not a door, just a gap in the tile, leading into absolute darkness. I clicked on the flashlight and stepped through, total darkness beyond the beam. 10 feet of visibility, maybe 15. Beyond that, the light is dissolved, as if the darkness was thick enough to absorb it. Rough stone walls, a natural cave carved into a passage, low ceiling, lower than the tunnel. The stone was wet with something oily. My breath came in thin clouds. The passage twisted without pattern, sometimes wide enough to stand. Sometimes I squeezed sideways through gaps barely wider than my shoulders. And then I heard it, breathing. Not mine, slow, deep, wet, like air pulled through liquid, coming from ahead or behind. In these passages, sound had no direction. I stopped, held my breath, the breathing continued, and it wasn't one source, it was many, some deep and slow, like something large, some quick and shallow, like something small, all around me in the dark. I kept the flashlight forward and walked faster. The breathing followed, shifting through the walls, keeping pace, maintaining positions just beyond my ability to see them. I won't describe what I saw because I didn't see anything. I can only tell you what they were not. They were not human. They were not animal. They were not anything in any taxonomy humans have ever devised. They moved in the spaces between my blinks. Every time my eyes closed, that involuntary fraction, they were closer. I learned to blink one eye at a time. Left, then right, never both, because when both closed, even for a heartbeat, I could feel them lean in. My flashlight began to dim. The lead flickered. The beam narrowed. I shook it. Hard. A reflex. A prayer. It brightened for a moment, then dimmed again. The breathing grew louder, closer, as if they could sense the light dying. As if they were waiting 5 feet of visibility. Then 3. I swung the dying beam and caught. Not a shape, not a form, a wrongness in the air. A distortion like heat haze, but cold. At the edge of the light. Where the beam stopped, the distortion was there. I swung the other way, another distortion. Closer, keep walking, don't stop, don't stop. The flashlight gave one last pulse, a brief, desperate flare, and died. Absolute darkness. Not a room with the lights off, not a moonless night where your eyes adjust. A darkness with presence, pressing against my eyes, filling my throat. I couldn't see my own hands. I stood still, didn't breathe, and something brushed against my face, light as silk, like a cobweb dragged across the cheekbone and down to the jaw. So gentle it could have been imagined, so intimate it couldn't. Another touch, my forehead, the bridge of my nose, tracing my jaw with a delicacy worse than violence, studying me, learning the shape of my face the way a blind person reads Braille. More touches, the back of my neck, my ear, both hands simultaneously, mapping me, cataloging me, taking me apart, piece by piece, in the dark. I closed my eyes. It made no difference. The darkness behind them was the same as the darkness in front. Something touched my lips, so gently, so carefully, as if it was trying to understand what they were for. I opened my eyes, light from ahead. A crack in the stone, 20 feet away, leaking a thin line of white. Daylight, I ran, didn't think, didn't plan, blind, desperate, boots slamming on stone. The breathing behind me, all of it, every source, as if they decided to let me go, or as if they'd never been there at all. My hands hit the crack, the door, real, solid, slightly ajar. I pushed. It opened, and I fell through into sunlight. Blinding light. I stumbled out and dropped to my knees on asphalt. Hot, rough, real asphalt. The sky was gray, overcast, the most beautiful sky I had ever seen. The parking lot of the Meridian Building. My car 20 feet away. Chain link fence intact. Demolition notice still zip tied to the gate. I stayed on my knees. Let the sunlight pour over me. My hands shaking so hard, I pressed them flat against the ground. Warm, solid, real. I walked to my car and looked in the rearview mirror. Gray face, bloodshot eyes, clothes damp with something that smelled like old carpet and formaldehyde. I checked my watch, 9:58. I had entered the basement at 9:47, 11 minutes. I checked my phone, 3:47 in the afternoon. 6 hours, 11 minutes on my watch, 6 hours on my phone, 6 hours in the backrooms. I drove home. Didn't he call anyone? Didn't he report it? What would I say? That I found a door that wasn't T on the blueprint, that something in the dark had touched my face. I showered for 40 minutes, scrubbing until my skin was raw, but I could still smell it, that chemical sweetness in my hair under my nails. That night I left every light on. I lay in bed and listened to the silence. The house settling, the refrigerator humming, and underneath all of it, 60 hertz, the frequency of the lights in level 0 in the walls of my house. I slept around 4 in the morning. I dreamed of yellow wallpaper. I dreamed of buzzing lights. I dreamed of a door that opened onto an infinite room and something in the far corner, facing away, waiting for me to come closer. That was 3 weeks ago. I haven't slept more than 2 hours at a time since. I sit in my kitchen at 2 in the morning with every light on, and I write this down, and I try to make sense of it. I can. Gone over it 1,000 times. The door, the corridor, the mark, the notebook, the bedroom, the dark. I don't think there was a wrong choice. The backrooms aren't a puzzle. They're a place that happens to you like a disease. You don't choose it, it chooses you. And the worst part isn't the memory. It is what came home with me. The fluorescent light in my kitchen buzzes at 60 hertz. I measured it, the same frequency as level 0. I can unhear it. The walls in my hallway are yellow. They've always been yellow. I never noticed how close the shade is to that wallpaper. I can't unsee it, and sometimes, when I close my eyes, just before sleep, the world behind my eyelids shifts, a color, yellow. A sound, buzzing, a smell. Damp carpet, and I am back there, standing in a yellow room with the lights buzzing, and the carpet damp, and the smell filling my lungs. And I know the room is waiting for me, that it has always been waiting, that every time I close my eyes, I am stepping back inside. The backrooms don't let you leave. They just let you think you did, somewhere, right now, behind the door you haven't noticed yet. In a basement, in an office, in the back of a closet you've opened 1,000 times. There is a yellow room. The lights are buzzing, the carpet is damp, and something in the dark is learning the shape of your face.